Om. गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. So today we begin with the Ishavasya Upanishad, and as I said yesterday that Ishavasya Upanishad it comes in the 40th chapter of the Shukla Yajurveda Samhita, Mantra Samhita, and this is usually the first Upanishad which is taught to the students. We are doing it as the second, but it's the first one. And here, as we mentioned before, the presentation of the Upanishad is through various thought waves. The first, the second, the third, the fourth, fifth, sixth and seventh. 7 waves are given, thought waves, meaning thought contemplations, meaning 7 sections are there. And the first wave, which is the first mantra of this Upanishad, it is the path of renunciation and or knowledge. And through this path of renunciation or knowledge, how we can come to know that ultimate truth. Then the second wave is about the path of action. Every person is not able to understand the path of renunciation. Very difficult to get detached with everything. Very difficult to renounce that which is very dear to you, which is this world. So for such people, the path of action is given, and so on. As we come to those various paths, we will keep expounding upon them. So this Ishavasya Upanishad begins with the first verse, which is a very, very popular and famous verse. And in Panchadashi also this particular verse is taken, and a whole chapter is dedicated to this verse, where every word of this verse has been taken and expounded upon in the Vedantic manner. The word is taken, who is Isha, what is its purpose, what is the goal, how to contemplate upon it, everything word by word. Also we see that this Ishavasya Upanishad has 18 chapters, and these 18 chapters are corresponding to the 18 chapters in the Bhagavad Gita. Just like the Bhagavad Gita is a dialogue between the Lord Krishna and his disciple Arjuna. Similarly, this Ishavasya Upanishad was revealed and compiled together by Yajnavalkya, sage Yajnavalkya. And the teacher of sage Yajnavalkya was Lord Sun, the sun there. Isha, Ishana. And who is the teacher of Lord Sun? Lord Krishna. Because in in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that I gave this knowledge to the Lord Sun, and the Lord Sun gave it to the first Manu, and the Manu gave it to the the various, and it went on. So again the same knowledge is coming. almost every verse that is given in this chapter, in this Upanishad, you can find the thoughts presented in Bhagavad Gita somewhere or the other. With this background of this Upanishad, it's one of the most beautiful one. Repeat after me. Om Ishavasya Sarvam. Om Ishavasya Sarvam. Yat Kincha Jagatyam Jagata. Yat Kincha Jagatyam Jagata. Tena Tyaktena Bhunjithaha. Tena Tyaktena Bhunjithaha. Magrudha Kasya Swidhanam. Magrudha Kasya Swidhanam. So, Om Ishavasya Sarvam Yat Kincha Jagatyam Jagata Tena Tyaktena Bhunjithaha Magrudha Kasya Swidhanam. All this, whatever moves in this universe, including the universe itself moving, is indwelt or pervaded or enveloped or clothed by the Lord. The renounced, thou should enjoy, covet not anybody's wealth. This is the mantra. So what is being told here? See, Isha means the Lord. Vasya means clothing, inhabiting, enveloping, pervading. These are the different words that were used. And what it is clothing everything? All this, idakam sarvam. And what is that all this that it is clothing or enveloping? Everything that we see through the sense perceptions. What do you see through the sense perceptions? The total world. The total name and forms. So this whole creation is covered by this Isha. And how does it cover this whole creation? This creation which we are experiencing through our sense perception? By dwelling within. In yesterday we just touched on it. How does it dwell within? Just like the gold dwells within the ornaments, the water dwells within the waves, the mud dwells within the pots, and thus it is the inner controller. And where do we catch this reality? So if this is the cloth called the body, we have seen body, breath, mind, intellect is the enclosure. And within it, some other force, the spirit is expressing through that. So how is it expressing through? It is not only expressing through these envelopments, but also expressing as the envelopments. Om Purnamada Purnamidam, yesterday we talked about that. So not only the Lord is the inner controller, but it is the creation also. If this secret is caught, everything is over.
Is it under one there?
Yes, every Upanishad we say the same. Yes, if it clicks, everything is over. Then there is continuous, unadulterated flow of bliss. Then there is no need to make a statement, there is no need to communicate, there is no need to do anything. If at all anything is happening, you are just aware, it's just not as if nothing. So, with this statement, we must understand this matter envelopment. What not only this body, breath, mind, intellect, but also at the macrocosmic level, the total creation, which is nothing but made up of matter. It is an equipment through which this reality is expressing and infusing it with life. Matter is inert, essentially, isn't it? Just like this heater is inert. This camera is inert. When it gets infused by electricity, the heater starts becoming, which was inert, suddenly shows life. And that life within the heater expresses as heat. In the camera, it expresses as the picture and sound. See? Similarly, this equipment at an individual level, when it is infused with the life, with the spirit, suddenly the expressions come out. It seems that this matter, this inert matter, has come alive, isn't it? Similarly, this total material creation with nothing but matter seems to be alive. The air is moving, the fire is moving, burning, the water is moving. There is life. Movement means life, isn't it? The earth is continuously changing, the plates are moving, the planets are going around the sun. Planet, nothing but inert matter, but continuously moving around the sun. How is this earth rotating around its own axis and at the same time rotating around the sun? What is giving it the power to move? That spirit, that infinite reality, the truth. It is infusing this inert, earth, and is expressing as the earth and the sun and the other planets and the galaxy and the creation. And this drama is going on continuously, and understand in this manner. And having understood this, we can come to the conclusion that the Lord, the Isha, is omnipresent and the inner controller of the total creation. Ishavasya. And how does he control? By governing, or he is the governor of all environments, the ruler over all the sense activities, and the monitor in all mental and intellectual functions. Just different words. Just like woman is called as mother, wife, etc., etc. Same way this Lord, who is the inner controller, is given the name governor, the monitor, and the ruler. But the thing is, even though he is everywhere, there is not even one iota of place or space where he is not expressing. Once we understood that he is the one who is expressing and he is the one who is everything. That means two things. He is the material cause of the creation and he is the efficient cause of the creation. We have used these terms in Panchadashi. Material cause, the material out of which this creation has come about, is the Lord, the divine. The efficient cause, there must be some creator. That creator also is he alone. So out of himself he makes the creation. The water out of itself makes the waves. Is there anyone else's hand in making water into wave? No, it happens. Don't try to understand this creation is like a goldsmith taking the material called gold and converting it into ornament. Now here the material cause is the gold and the efficient cause is the goldsmith. Goldsmith is separate to the gold. It is not like that. Here the goldsmith is the creator, the molder is the Lord, and the material out of which he is creating the creation is also the Lord. Now if you really, you are nodding, but if you really think about this, mind stops. It cannot be thought about. even though we are using the words. But the biggest joke is, if everything is pervaded by the Lord, why are we not experiencing Him? Why do we find ourselves to be divorced from Him? Inside and outside, everywhere He alone is. And yet, we are living in a lack of that experience. There is no union with Him. What is that which is stopping you from recognizing your true divinity? The Lord. No, Lord is not stopping you from recognizing Him. Lord is everywhere. There is no place that He is not. His grace is everywhere. Then why are we not able to recognize this grace, which is inside and out? And no time bars it. No space can, which is not pervaded by it. No object which is not pervaded by it. Because we find this creation is conditioned by time, space and objectivity. And this grace goes beyond this time, space and objectivity and pervading through the time, space and objectivity as the time, space and objectivity. And yet we are not able to experience it. That's the tragedy. Who's the man? So here is a prayer through this verse. Om Ishavasimidagam Sarvam. Let this divine light pervade through all these matter envelopments, and may I come to recognize that. And in this manner, once we make this statement and once we recognize this, that this Isha, the Lord divine, is the material as well as the efficient cause, at that very moment, this hallucination that we are attached to, called the world of names and forms, ends once and for all. Right now, when I say the Lord is the material and efficient cause, you are understanding intellectually. Be very clear. You are understanding intellectually, but there is no direct experience taking place. When the direct experience takes place, this ghost called the world vanishes. Once and for all. Not it will go away slowly, slowly. No, once and for all. Only once you have to know yourself. So keep this idea in your mind, that the material cause and the efficient cause is the world. Then why am I looking at Lalita? Why am I looking at Paul? Why am I looking at cushion and I am aware of the words, etc. Everything. My attention is on outside. And as long as my attention is on the outside, very difficult to inquire into the outside. Also there is a methodology. We'll come to that within this verse. Because a seeker has only two ways to go. One is outside and one is inside. See? There is no in between. He can only, either he can inquire the truth of this world, or he can deny this world and come back to the self. In Panchadashi we did the last chapter of Panchadashi, which was Vishayananda, isn't it? It comes to the same thing. So here, the truth is that which is veiled by this creation of names and forms, and it is the spirit which is giving this creation a semblance of life, so to speak. So here the electricity is veiled by the heater, here the electricity is veiled by the camera. So when our attention is on the camera, we are not thinking about electricity, because our attention is on the end result that the camera is giving. Our attention is not on the electricity here. Our attention is on the heater which is giving us heat. Our attention never goes to the cause, to that which is expressing through it, without which that thing is not a thing. See? So where are we lost? We are lost in the periphery. We are never going to the center. And our meditation that we did is an experiment, is an attempt to go from the periphery to the center. We are not going to deny the periphery. Nah, it is not. If that will be like forceful denial of that. Forceful denial will lead to other problems in the mind. No, accept it. And after accepting it, grow out of it. And how do you grow out of it? By contemplating on that which is the center. What is the center? What is the center of everything? The witness, isn't it? So in meditation we come back to the witness. From the periphery of the body, we come to the center, the witness. From the periphery of the breath, we come to the center, the witness. From the periphery of the thoughts, we come to the center, the witness. Without this witness, the thought, breath and body and the world cannot exist. Isn't it? So here in this verse, it is said, all this should be covered by the Lord. So this is the paradox that we are living in. See, Vasya means covering, and we should live in this understanding, firstly, that cover everything with Paramatma. Cover everything with Paramatma means the infinite divine Lord. So suspect the divinity in everything that you come across. Now here I am seeing Teresa, I am seeing this computer bag, I am seeing this camera. Now instead of looking at camera, my attention should be on the electricity. Instead of looking at the form, the periphery of Teresa, my attention should be on the consciousness that is expressing through Teresa, on which Teresa has been superimposed, pasted, like a stamp pasted on an envelope. So attention should be that. See? And when we put attention on that, again and again when we put attention on that, then, the first part, cover everything with the divine. Then second, understand that this divine you yourself are. So first, cover everything with divine, meaning suspect that divinity in everything, behind everything. And second, understand and accept that you are also the divine. Third, that you yourself are everything. How you yourself are everything? How you yourself are everything?
Because there's only the one.
There is only one. The micro itself is the macro, and macro itself is the micro. So you yourself are everything will mean the wave recognizing that the ocean is expressing through it, as it, isn't it? Then to understand that the ocean is expressing at the point where the wave is expressing is possible only when the wave gives up its attachment to its waveness. Then alone it is possible. So for me or for us to recognize that Lord Divine within, we have to give up this obsession that I am only this wave called the body. Teresa, Louis, Joy, Lalita. I have to give up this obsession. Then alone the Lord Divine will reveal Himself. Now He is not, he has some time, His mind is empty enough for me to express. Because He is always, that grace is always. But we are not allowing it because of our preoccupation with sense perceptions, with the name and form. Third, therefore everything as well as you are Paramatma, the Lord. So the conclusion will be, first you cover everything with the Lord, because you have understood Lord Himself has gone into, is the material cause of the creation. Then you understand that you are also everything. Then the conclusion is that everything as well as you are nothing but that Lord Divine. Otherwise, oh, everything else is divine, I am not. Or I am divine but others are not divine. No, everything is. And when everything is considered to be divine and you consider yourself also to be divine, then what is the relationship with everything? Only that of L-O-V-E, capital, apostrophe, bold, highlighted. Love. Only love. Everything within you, the tongue, the teeth, the nose, the eyes, the arms, the legs, you have accepted that you are expressing through all these, isn't it? And therefore, you cannot ever hate any part of your body. Everyone loves themselves the most. Expand it ad infinitum. See, two things happen. When we love something, one is that I love something and I'm attached to something. Okay? What happens when I'm attached to something? I desire something, but that what I am desiring is not included in the definition of I. So it's separate. And another thing is, in that what happens? There is attachment, mamta. I want. It is mine. And what is mine? So this camera is mine. This book is mine. This shawl is mine. There is still separateness. I can take this shawl and keep it away. I can take this camera and pack it and give it as a present to someone. It's mine. Be very attentive what I am going to say next. With all these objects, there was a sense of mineness, mamata. Now when I come to the body, this body is mine. And also what happens? I am the body. You don't say I am the camera. You don't say I am the shawl. You don't say I am the book. So what has happened here suddenly? The separation, that separate entity has been included in the definition of I. Camera was not included in the definition of I. The shawl was not included in the definition of I. It was still kept separate, but a relationship was created that it is mine. A possessiveness was it was enveloped in that possessiveness. But with the body, yes, it is mine and I am pervading through the body. This is the experience, isn't it? And therefore, the result where mineness and I-ness come together, immediately love appears, bliss expresses. And that is your experience about yourself. My children, you will love them, but not as much as you love yourself. But that love for the child is much more than the love for someone else's child. It's relative. So, compared to the other children, you love your children. But that child is also nothing but name and form and body, isn't it? But compared to that name, form and body, this name, form and body, I love more. Why? Because I am pervading through this body. And therefore, I never do anything. I'm very, very patient with this body. I'm very, very forgiving. If the teeth cuts the tongue, I don't pluck my teeth out. I'm forgiving to the teeth. Why? There is a relationship of love with every aspect of its creation within this body. That's to a little extent it gets extended to our children. We are forgiving, we oversee, we take care, we nurture. Why? Because that child was born through me. Huh? But still it is not a complete feeling that you have for yourself transferred to that child. That feeling is not transferred. Here it is immediate, total. With that child, it is there, but maybe 80-60%. With the rest of the world, that which is included in the mind has maybe 40-50, but rest of the world, who cares? See? So this thing has to change. When we can feel the way we are feeling about this object, or a name and form called the body, which is a part of this creation, when we start having this feeling that we are having about this equipment with respect to the total creation, Ishavasamidagam sarvam, then this feeling will be all pervasive. When it is becomes all pervasive, this is the goal that we have to seek. This is what the Lord will reveal. Yat kincha jagatyam jagata. What is this yat kincha? That move, when we say Ishavasamidagam sarvam, that all this, whatsoever moves in this universe, including the universe itself moving, yat kincha is that all the names and forms are there in the universe, all of them are but expressions of the glory of this Lord Divine, which is all pervasive in nature. Meaning all this means what? Everything that you are perceiving through your perceptions, seeing, hearing, touching, feeling, tasting, thinking, thoughts, emotions, everything is pervaded by this Lord Divine, the Isha. Jagatyam Jagat. What is Jagat? Yat kinchit Jagatyam Jagat. Jagat means the world. What is world? How do you define world? Yes, everything. One is, the world is nothing but names and forms. That we have already said it. How else can you say? that which is continuously changing is the world. That which is continuously in a state of flux is the world. Isn't it? So Jagatyam Jagata, that which is continuously changing, that which is continuously in a state of flux is continuously perishing. So that perishable, perishing in this world, which is itself ever perishing. So world is continuously perishing. Within that, you are that perishing entity which is continuously changing. See the magic? See the drama? Jagat, Jagatyam Jagata. So this is the constant change that is called Jagat, and it is continuously, you cannot say one point it is continuously evolving and on the other side it is continuously devolving. Devolving means decaying. Huh? And if at a larger scale that you see, the totality scale, the world is continuously moving towards what? Extinction, towards its death. Every morning you get up, friend, we are going to start Ishavasya Upanishad and we are going to study. Imagine, the world began. It began for what? Only to die, isn't it? At night, the world as you experience it right now, when you woke up, it is only leading to its destruction. Again at night it will be destroyed when you go to sleep. Therefore, it is continuously decaying. It is a phantom which is appearing and continuously moving towards its destruction. So, instead of putting your attention on this phantom of change, this ghost of change, like yesterday we talked about the ghost on the post, put your attention on the changeless. What is the changeless? The post. So what is the changeless on the screen? What is the changeless? I am seeing myself, I am seeing the Buddha behind, I am seeing the altar, I am seeing my hands move, I can hear myself speak when I put the camera on. All this is change. But what is the changeless there? The screen is the changeless. I see all of you sitting here, but what is the changeless here? When you come to the seat of meditation, the body was moving, the attention was in the world, and you come here and you become quiet. So our goal was not to meditate on the body. Our goal was not to meditate on the breath or the mind. What is our goal? To meditate on that Lord Divine, so that He can reveal Himself for itself. And that Lord Divine itself is the witness, is the core. Just like electricity cannot express as light without the filament in the bulb, similarly, this Lord Divine cannot express through this equipment without the presence of intellect. Intellect is the place where you can catch it. But to get to the intellect, you have to give up the obsession with the world, with the body, with the breath, with the mind, isn't it? Then you can come to the intellect. It's like a the present that we give to kids, which is the small present inside and wrapped into a big paper after paper after paper. You have to keep peeling away The child keeps, as he's peeling away, the excitement and joy of that child keeps growing. And the joy that that child experiences the moment he reaches the last piece of, he doesn't know it is the last piece, but the moment the last piece of paper is torn and there the present is, isn't it? It's in a box. So I found something. Then he opens the box, the bottom part and the top cover. The moment he opens, inside is the present. Similarly, we have to give up all these gross identifications and come to that sanctum sanctorium where we can catch, we can become available to the reality. How do you become available to the reality? You have to go, you have to remain the witness of the presence and the absence. Presence and the absence are the two. One is the lid and one is the bottom. You have to open. When you open the presence and the absence, what happens? You come into the center, isn't it? That is the technique. If you are not able to, straight away come to yourself. Straight away come to recognize that Ishavasyamitagam sarvam yat kinchit jagatyam jagata. See? We know the world is changing, but with reference to what? I have told you the technique, one technique, but with reference to what? And for this, we have to, as we have said before, that Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, the three steps, active listening, reflection, and removing of doubts, and as a result contemplation, and there is that contemplation which is single pointed and done with faith leads to meditation. Meditation is not a happening. Till contemplation something is happening, but once the mind is single pointed on the idea that is presented, it is seeking that it's opened the box, it's gone between the two thoughts which represent the bottom and the top of the sanctum of that present within, the sheets of paper. Then the revelation happens. You did not create the present inside the box, did you? All you did was remove the top and or the bottom. It's okay. You removed the top and the bottom. The present was already there. It revealed itself. Same thing is here also. When we look out into the world, how do we catch it? How do we catch the reality? Remember we said there were two ways we can approach this Lord Divine. One is through external, through the world of objects, and one is through the internal. Internal we have done. How do we go to the external? What did we learn in Vishayananda, Brahmananda, Vishayananda? When we look at the world, what do we say?
We suspect the Lord is in everything.
No. From Vishayananda point of view. Lord is yes, but how? Now we are not talking about the spirit within. We are looking at the world. Very difficult for a person to look at himself inside. There are certain people who are not able to go in. They are obsessed with this creation. Now, okay, how do you analyze this creation? Teresa is, joy is, this meditation hall is, this camera is, I am, you are, they all are, isn't it? What is common here?
What we see.
No.
Separation
What is common here? What is the common denominator?
from the names and forms.
Yes, but names and forms are changing. Teresa has a different name and form. To Joy, who has a different name and form. To camera, which has a different name and form. To the cushion, which has a different name and form. To the meditation hall, which has a different name and form. To me, who has a different name and form. But what is the common thing in all of us, which is not different?
The unchanging absolute. So,
What is that in that sentence? Teresa is, Louis is, camera is, meditation hall is.
is.
Isness is common. Isness is common. Without that isness means what? Existence, isn't it? Without existence, could Teresa exist? Not possible. Without existence, can this camera exist? Not possible. But where is our attention? Not on that principle of existence, but on the periphery. So when you look at the world, how do you suspect divinity? In this manner. Go to the substratum. Change can only express on a substratum of changeless. Change cannot express all by itself. There has to be a changeless factor. Continuous change of thoughts, continuous change of emotions, continuous flux of the breath, continuous movements of the body. All these changes are not possible without a substratum, without a changeless principle. A river, moving river, continuously the waters are moving, cannot be a river without a changeless bed. Correct?
Or even changes water too, so these
No, water is changing, no? Our attention, we are talking very gross right now. So, a river is continuously changing, but river cannot be a river without a fixed bed, river bed. Because there is a river bed, so the water is flowing. Without water, waves cannot. Continuous change of waves is not possible without the changeless substratum called water or ocean, isn't it? Ocean remains, waves come and go. Have you ever seen ocean come and go? So put your attention on the changeless. And what is that changeless? Oh, existence. Oh, existence. Oh, existence. Don't get caught up. First we get caught up with Teresa, the name and form. Then we define that name and form with a particular name. And then we to hold on to that particular name, along with this name and form, we create a story around it. That she is the mother of Catherine, that she lives in such and such place, that she comes to the class. We have frozen that name and form along with its associations in time for ourselves. Don't do this. Get out of this practice. Therefore, don't ask anyone else's past. Yesterday, day before yesterday, today's Saturday, isn't it? On Thursday, I went for a walk with someone. One couple came. And while going, we were just talking about, they were studying in Canada, and I said, I also went to, just it came out. Somewhere in Europe, I went and studied. And so yesterday evening, the call came. Just after the lecture, the call came, or before the lecture, the call came. Swamiji, myself, probably they were having some party somewhere, I don't know. And he says, the husband is saying, telling me, Swamiji, you have to put my mind at rest. I am having a argument with my wife and it has come to an extreme. I am saying that you went and studied in Europe and did management. And my wife is saying, no, he did not do management. I said, so what you really did in Switzerland? And they are arguing. And I can see the people, I can hear them at the back on the phone. I said, I am enjoying your argument. Continue. Why should I answer? Involuntarily it came out that time, in that spur of the moment. But if someone asks me and digs into my past, I never tell. So by way of example, sometimes I put these examples, something from somewhere and I put it. But if you intentionally going and asking, Swamiji, where were you, what were you doing, how was it there, forget it, gone. No, you have to tell me, otherwise this will continue till night. I said, next Thursday. So he says, no, Friday we are flying to India. We can't meet on Thursday. We can't come for a walk because Friday afternoon is our flight. I said, then after you come back from India. No, Swami. Till then the argument will go on otherwise. See? Waste of time. So, it is this isness, this changeless principle, this principle of existence, which expresses as isness in this creation, we must put our attention on. See, where is your attention? Your attention is on me or on the Buddha at the back or somewhere. How can you get rid of all the forms that you are looking at? I'm just talking about seeing right now. How can you? These forms cannot exist without space. Space is, isn't it? Shift your attention to the space. Start looking between the two people. Don't look at them. Oh, you are being very rude. Who cares? Look between the two people. Okay. So he's what do you call that? Looking at Tokyo, talking to New York. What do you call this? With the two eyes going in different directions? Huh?
Cross-eyed.
Cross-eyed. Cross-eyed. But you have to make that decision. This is one exercise. That when you are looking at someone, don't look at that person. If you feel that they will feel bad, you look at them, but your attention is in the middle, at this point. You are contemplating on the space. Your attention is on the space in between, not on the person. And slowly, this obsession of identifying with bodies will keep dropping away. Because what are you practicing now? Identifying with the space, which is the so-called substratum, just for our example purpose. Space is the substratum on which all the forms exist, isn't it? So put your attention on that. Then you can come, space is, the presence within the space is the reality. You can come to conclusion that way. Because when you contemplate on space there, in meditation also, only space will come. Because no more collection of impressions of names and forms. Because why? You have made it a habit to contemplate on the space. So in this manner, we must come to experience the Divine Spirit through this process of renunciation. What is this? Ishavasimidagam sarvam yat kinchit jagatyam jagata. So the first line first part, Ishavasa Idagam Sarvam, was how the infinite divine Lord is pervading everything else. And what is that everything else was defined as Yat Kincha Jagatyam Jagat. Everything, the complete field of experience. What is the field of experience? For the body, for the senses, the field of experience is names and forms. For the mind, the field of experience is the total emotions. For the intellect, the total field of experience is the thoughts, correct? So this is the total field of experience. There is nothing else other than these three. Looking at it from a different angle. So this total field of experience is nothing but that divine Lord which is expressing through it as it. So this was the first line. Now how do we get this? How it is possible to experience this? Tena tyaktena bhunjithaha. Tena tyaktena. Tena means Tena tyaktena. Tyaktena means to give up, to renounce, to abandon. And the only way to bring peace and tranquility to our mind is by renunciation. This is the first wave. Path of renunciation or knowledge. Both go hand in hand. If you think you are intelligent and by studying scriptures and studying Gita and Upanishads, your knowledge is increasing, understand. The sign of knowledge, growth of knowledge within you is more renunciation. And the sign of more renunciation is more clarity in knowledge. And what is that knowledge? About the self, not about the world, about the changeless substratum, that changeless principle that is expressing within us as us. So this way, tena tyaktena, this is the, what is that which we can give up? There are three things that a man continuously strives for. And these are the three eshanas. Three eshanas are Putreshna, Vitteshna and the desire for wealth. He puts efforts to get wealth. Second is to get children. He feels his life is incomplete without a child. Otherwise, how will the lineage continue? And the third is for the name and fame. These are the three ways. Lokeshna, correct. Lokeshna, Vitteshna, Putreshna. Three. So the desire for this world. And how do you desire for this world? By doing various acts, charity, so that you become popular, you become famous, you become known, and then people start, hey, look at that Swami going, he built so many temples, he built so many ashrams, he gives so many lectures, and your fame increases, and you become a popular entity within the creation, within the world. And majority of the people are caught up in one of these three. These three have to be given up. The desire for wealth, the desire for progeny, and the desire for name and fame. Tyaktena. Tena tyaktena bhunjithaha. And in this manner, the second meaning of tena, so first was tena tyaktena, the three eshanas. The second meaning of tena is that tena also means by him. So by him means what? That by him the whole creation was created in his own image. And if you renounce that world, renounce that vision, which the Lord has present. Imagine if the Lord was to look at this creation, who He has made it out of Himself, what will be His vision? That is what we are pursuing or seeking through our sadhana, through our study of Upanishads. If you renounce that creation, that vision, you go to the doldrums. There is no hope for you. So continuously keep this in mind, that it is Him who's created this creation. So tena tyaktena means that which is left to us by Him. Bhunjitaha, you enjoy. But this enjoyment is not like we enjoy the food, we enjoy the... So what do? We are enjoying the scriptures, but our attention is on the reality. We enjoy the food, we say Om Brahmarpanam Brahmai Brahmagno Brahmanautam. We say the prayers, and immediately whatever the food is enjoyed, first it is offered to the Lord because He created it. The moment you get up, Karagare vasate Lakshmi karamule Saraswati karamaddedu Govinda prabhate karadarshanam. Immediately you remember the Lord because of whom you are. The moment you get out of the bed, you don't straight away jump onto the floor. Then the moment you touch the earth, before touching the earth, Ya Prithvitya Dhrita Aloka, you pray to the earth. Oh Mother Earth, thank you for allowing me to step upon your bosom. This way, these are more elaborate ways of remembering the divinity in every aspect of your life. Before studying Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyaramam Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada. O Goddess of Knowledge, I pray to you, now that I am opening the book and going to begin these studies, may what is given in this book be implanted in my mind by your grace. The prayer is made. So there is no ego that I am studying, that I have to understand. Studies are done with total surrender. See? This is the beauty of our scriptures. Continuously you have to keep your attention on that divine theme which is expressing in and through. So bhunjitaha. Bhunjitaha means to enjoy. So enjoy righteously. Don't enjoy unrighteously. Do it within the parameters. Why? Don't get attached, because this creation is the Lord's creation. So if you are Lord's creation, will I interact with you in a wrong manner? Do I interact in a wrong manner with my body? No. Remember the tongue was bitten by the teeth? Did I pluck my tooth out? No, I didn't. Because the nail were scratching the skin and the skin came off. Did I cut my fingers off? I didn't. I forgave. If the leg is paining, do I say, no, you have to stay there? No, I give it comfort, isn't it? I'm caring. I'm nurturing. I'm compassionate towards my own body. I'm very loving towards my own body. Then I must reciprocate the same with the whole world, because that is also created by the Lord. And if it is created by the Lord, I should not disrespect it. How do you disrespect it? By going after the three. What are the three? When you become obsessed with putreshna, with that I want a relationship, I want wealth, and I want name and fame. then you will disrespect. Instead of these three, put your attention on what? On that divine theme. We keep, whenever a Mahatma comes, whenever a sannyasi, a monk comes into the house or into a temple, the people or the priest chants, na karmana na prajaya dhane na tyage naike amritatva manushuhu. Na karmana, no action, na karmana na prajaya dhane na prajaya. Prajaya means no progeny, not through multiplication of yourself, na dhanena, nor the wealth, tyage naike amritatva manushuhu. The immortality can be gained only by the renunciation of these three: action, progeny, and wealth. As long as there is attachment to these three, immortality is an impossibility. Because the relationship with these three is only of the ego, isn't it? And as long as the ego is, till then, the grace is blocked. This ego is the phantom which is creating the relationships, and as a result living in fear. The moment and the food for this ghost called the ego, what is its food? Relationship with the names and forms. How does he do the relationship with names and forms? Progeny, marriage. Then another pursuit by which he gets caught into this world is the wealth, or by name and fame. By when you have wealth, you want to do great things, and as a result you want to be famous, to be known in this world. As long as we are caught up in these three, as long as this ego is caught up in these three, immortality is far, far, far away. These three as if veil the grace which is ever wanting to express in its entirety. It's like the electricity is functioning through the bulb, but the bulb has a wattage of only 30 watts. What can the electricity do? It wants million watts to be expressed, but it cannot. Why? This bulb has a filament of which can allow only 30 watts to express. What is your wattage? Is your wattage only wealth, relationships and name and fame? Or is your wattage the divine wattage? You have to determine that. And as we keep contemplating, yes, I want the divine wattage to come about, I want the divine wattage, automatically you grow out of these small wattages, small identifications which were limiting the expression of that grace, isn't it? You cannot come out of them. You have to contemplate on something higher. Then alone you grow out. You cannot tena tyaktena. Tena tyaktena is, to renounce does not mean I renounce this, but the attachment is still there in my heart. I might go and buy another one and get attached to that one and then say loudly, oh, I renounce my camera control. I renounced my clothes. I renounced my family. No, that is not renunciation. Renunciation is not a physical separation. Renunciation is when no impression is created No reaction is expressed in our mind when the world presents itself to us. That is a renunciation. Then the daughter comes, Mom, you are very, very funnily, you are very aloof. No, my dear, I don't, today only I did Ishavasya Upanishad. So I am practicing na prajaya, na karmana, na prajaya, dhanena. I am practicing non-attachment to the progeny. Oh, come on, mummy, you are not being yourself. Don't get caught up in all this. Nobody wants us to be happy. Because they are caught up in creating a relationship. But the moment you say, my child, oh, she's feeling or he's feeling so bad, I think I should do my duty as a mother. The moment this thought comes, gone. The grace stops. Then who expresses? Mother expresses. Mother is because of whom? The host called the ego. See? Very important. Be very clear what your goal in life is. Is it to be a mother? Is it to be a father? Is it to be a teacher? Is it to be a student? Or is it to be immortal? In this life or at the end of this life? If at the end of this life, you don't know when the end of the life is coming, so better be prepared now. See? So important. Therefore, tena also means therefore, so tena kasya svidhanam, that's the last part of this verse. Covet not someone else's wealth. Covet not this creation. Don't run after this creation. Don't have this feeling of wanting other people's wealth. Ma gradaha kasya, what was the word? Ma gradaha kasya svidhanam. Kasya svidhanam, where is the wealth? Where is the wealth means since everything is nothing but the Lord's, you did not create anything, including the wealth, the children and the name and fame. You did not create that. If you want to look at it from that point, then if you did not create it, don't run after it. It is the Lord's, and if Lord wants, He will give it to you. But there is no lurking desire within you to want that. And ma gradaha, never covet. Never covet others' wealth. To desire to possess more and more, to hold, to collect and to aggrandize. So we must not covet others' wealth and possess. Because now mom's going away to India. The garage will become empty. All the things that are collected, they'll go away. I find my room also, this time I shifted from the front room to the back room. I had to go through it. And then I went through that. Okay. I felt, I should keep this also, I should keep this also, I should keep this. Then I said, for last 10 years I have not used this, and last 10 years ago I remember, before going to the ashram, I felt, I will need this sometime in the future, so I kept it. But from that day till today, I have never opened that. And still I have that feeling that I might use it, that I might need it. The moment this thought came, out. That time it felt, why are you doing this? Why are you tearing that photograph? all your friends, this, that. Why are you tearing that address book? Why? I kept it for so long. Why I kept it for so long? Because it defines who I am. It reaffirms the relationships that I had created 10, 15, 20 years ago with various people. It reaffirms into my memory bank all the people that I came in contact with, did business with. Why do I need all that? At that moment of breaking it up and throwing it away, there was, oh man, maybe I'll need it. Maybe. But once I have thrown it away, it's out of my mind now. Not even a thought comes, oh, I should go. Why did I do that? Some people have this saying, once you give up something, then suddenly, we had a lawnmower. So when we built the house, I had a lawnmower, I had a pickaxe, I had different things. So I gave that to my friend. I said, you keep it because I don't have a place. And the new house that is going to be built, the garden will be such that no place for lawn mowing. We'll just get someone to do it and mom can't do it. But now, suddenly the 2 units are there and the grass is going, oh, I wish I had the lawnmower. Then I could have just done it straight away, not waited for the gardener to come every 2-3 weeks. It comes for a second. But how efficiently you drop that? No, how does it matter? Grass is growing, oh, it looks wild, good. You have to find, out of that doubt which came about, you have to make it into a challenge and again come back to some conclusion where the mind becomes quiet. But that ability you have to develop. So, so at a lower level, enjoy what is given by the Lord without covetousness, without attachment. Enjoy it. Enjoy this world. Enjoy the children, enjoy the wealth, because you have not created the wealth, He has given it. But enjoy it without attachment. Because if you enjoy with attachment, what will happen? The ego will become strong.
Is that how the Lord says it there? Exactly. Creation in a detached way, in that sense.
Yes, he is involved in the. He doesn't even see it in a detached way, because he is everywhere. How can he see the creation separate to him? Can you see your body separate to yourself? At the moment, no. In meditation, maybe yes. But the moment interaction begins, speaking, talking, walking, seeing, hearing, touching, feeling, tasting, thinking, you are not able to separate yourself from the body. So Lord is also seeing the whole creation. He has created it out of Himself, and yet He is not attached to the creation. Therefore, He can remain a controller. So in seat of meditation, you see that everything is not possible without this changeless principle called the Spirit, the Lord Divine. Without it, the body, breath, mind, intellect, the creation could not be possible. And you shift your attention to that witness. And the moment you shift the attention to the witness, your attention is not on the world. The moment you keep thinking of the breath, your attention is not on the body. The moment you single-pointedly keep thinking about Om, Om, Om in your mind, your attention is not on the breath or the body. The deeper more your mind gets merged into that contemplation, the less is the attachment to the world. You are sitting in meditation for 1 hour in the morning. How many of you thought about what was going on in the world? Did you think about, oh, I left my door open of my room? Did you think about, oh, I did not make my bed before coming? Did you think, what is there for breakfast today? No. You came with one purpose, you sat here, and the world was, the moment that door got closed, everyone was so quiet today. Isn't it? Now say, when this can happen with the outside world, same thing happens with this world called body, breath, mind, intellect. Also, when you go deeper and deeper within yourself. The attention becomes less and less. Why? It is becoming more and more focused on the ultimate.
But when we chanted the end of Mr. Burupyon, everyone was absolutely in time, and being a musician, I couldn't help noticing perfect, absolutely as well.
And if it is not, who cares?
Yes, but it was so strong.
Yes, it is good.
Yeah.
It is good. Perfection and imperfection, we are beyond that. Because if I focus on perfection and harmony, then immediately disharmony and imperfection also is created. My attention is not on both. I may appreciate, but I will not react to it. I will not allow an impression of, oh, it was so beautiful. I will say that, but I will not allow it to shift anything inside. Okay, so be it. And that's why I immediately made this statement. Let there be imperfection, how does it matter? I am other than the two. I am the witness of both. That's the Lord. And here, the Upanishad says, to summarize the whole thought, renouncing the fleeting world and its equally fleeting objects, in the Lord is all this experience, come to enjoy the self. So first was enjoy the world without attachment to the world, and the second way was that you meditate by renouncing the perceptions, feelings and thoughts and come to enjoy the bliss of the self. So one is the lower way of enjoyment, one is the higher way. Now the lower way will be explained in the next verse. Here only the highest thought is being taken. Just like in Bhagavad Gita also, when Arjuna says in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, "Oh Lord, I am in despair, I am despondent. Please help me, please guide me, and guide me with what is for my highest good." And the Lord tells him exactly this. Ishavasyamitagam sarvam yat kinchit jagatyam jagata tena tyaktena bhunjithaha ma grudha kasya svidhanam. In similar tone. But the first line, that was what the Lord said. And in this manner, the bhunjithaha. Bhunjitha means to enjoy. Enjoy. Tyaktena bhunjitaha. Tyaktena, what did we say? Renounce. In renunciation there is joy. Is there? Do you enjoy giving things to your children? Yes. So there is joy in giving. Do you enjoy when you go to a soup kitchen and give and offer your efforts? Yes, there is enjoyment. Is there joy when you give charity, you renounce your wealth and offer it to someone else, to the needy? Yes, there is joy. Tyaktena bhunjithaha. So in renunciation there is joy. If you have to move to this meditation hall, every step that you took from your room till here was an act of renunciation. If you did not renounce your attachment with the first right step, you could not have taken the left step, left leg forward. If you had not renounced with the left leg, you could not have taken with the next step forward. You only attach to detach and detach to attach. Both are these a part of the creation. So we have to keep renouncing with whatever we are attached to. See? Wealth, whatever comes into our life, is only to be given away. Let it circulate in the society. Not kept in the banks or under the bed or dig a hole in your backyard and put it there. Why? Government is giving only $100,000 for the next 3 years. After 3 years, what happens? Everyone takes the money out and digs it, in a safe box in the earth somewhere. No, let it circulate.
My father did. He actually had a little tin box with lots and lots of money in it, and they were on the apple tree.
In the old days, they used to do that. But here we are not talking about what people, we understand that is what is done. But what is the right way of living? If everything is His and He has given you the wealth, distribute that wealth joyously. Buy presents, oh, but what will happen? He will give, but do it with the right intention. You are not giving away so that, oh Lord, you told me that you will give, so I am giving away. So please give me more. No, that is not the intention. Because little bit wealth, money in your pocket, what happens? Let's have a coffee. Little bit more wealth, oh, let's buy some new shoes. Little bit more wealth, okay, let's go to India. Little bit more wealth, oh, I think the prices are going down, let's buy a mansion.
Well, you're circulating it.
Pardon me?
You're circulating it that way.
Who?
If you do that, you're circulating it.
Yeah, but there is a desire. There is a desire within. You can circulate it without a selfish motive. You can do that, no doubt, no problems. But let there be no selfish motive. And only you can tell whether it is a selfish motive or you are doing it out of a goodness of your heart. Not wanting name and fame, just doing the act for the sake of act. Charity for the sake of charity. You know, some people give charity and they say anonymous. They don't want to give their names. And conversely, you go to Haridwar, this time we went, there on the footpath, there are marble squares and you are stepping on them. There is saying, donated 1,000 rupees, donated 2,000 rupees. Because they want to show that I have donated to make this footpath. And yet there are other people who don't even want to give their name. Anonymous. So, tyaktena bhunjitaha, never enjoy. And another meaning can be, tyaktena bhunjitaha. Lord has created the whole creation in His own being, out of His own material. And what does He say? That I am not that which you have to renounce. So going after relationships, going after the wealth, going after the name and fame, God has forsaken that. He is not interested in collecting wealth. He is not interested in producing progeny. He is not interested in name and fame. Lord is not. If you take Jesus, you take Krishna, Rama, they are not popular. They are not there for spreading their name. So when they are not, do not run after and enjoy that which has been forsaken by the Lord Himself. Tyaktena bhunjitaha. So understand it in this manner. The different meanings are coming out of these words when you combine them.
What did you say about the Lord forsaking that himself?
Lord has created everything out of himself. So he has only love towards everything. Can he desire himself if everything is himself? No. Then don't live a life desiring wealth, desiring progeny, relationships, and desiring name and fame. Don't desire anything from this world. Why? Because that's not how the Lord lives. And if the Lord is that changeless principle which is expressing through you, why it is not able to express fully through you? Because you are caught up in these things. Relationships, money and name and fame, wanting to do good. Because that is how you define yourself. So that who is identified with these three? The ghost called the ego. If you drop the attachment of these three and start contemplating on the divine, what will happen? This ghost will disappear. So like yesterday's example, the ghost was there and the same place the post was also there. So what are you contemplating on? Are you seeing the ghost or are you seeing the post? For that you needed a teacher who was fearless, who could take your hand and take you there. And he said, "Arey, this is not a ghost, look at the post." Even before he reached the post, he realized, "Arey, this is a post." The moment he recognized it's a post, ghost vanished forever. Forever. Have you seen those pictures? Now, about 10-15 years ago it came. It got dot, 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 dot. And if you just put your attention in a particular way, you can see a picture out of that.
Magic Eye.
What do you call it?
Magic Eye, it was called. Book.
Magic Eye, Magic Eye. And once you have seen what the picture is in that particular page, as much as you may try not to see, it appears itself. Isn't it?
Yes, once you've got it, you've got it.
Once you got it, you got it. You cannot undo that. And a person who has not got it, he may try this way, that way, squinting his eyes, looking at that way against the light. He can't get it.
Amazing how it feels,
Isn't it? Exactly the same way. Once the ghost is gone, it's gone forever. And for a deluded one, whose attention is on the ghost, and ghost is getting the strength out of what? Out of his pursuit of desire, of wealth, relationships and name and fame. This is what everyone is desiring. You do charity, you do good for someone because you want to be appreciated. Very few people, you tickle your heart and ask. You want to be accepted. You want to be heard. Oh, she's a good woman or she's a good man. Drop all this. These are all leeches which suck your inspiration away. We don't realize it. Why? Because that's the norm in the world. You have to become abnormal if you have to know the reality. If you have to recognize the Lord divine. And to be abnormal and live that abnormal, which is actually normal, you have to go against the way the world is flowing. You have to take the opposite way, the less trodden path, with total faith in the Supreme, with total fearlessness, by surrendering to that Supreme. Tena tyaktena bhunji thaha. Yeah. You want to say something?
Yeah. I was reading Belzal's account. Belzal's account book that turn you inside out. And on my bookmark that I was using in that book said, "Without me you can do nothing." that's absolutely true. Without that, I can't do anything. There's no I that can do anything anyway. That it all just is, and so is everything
Correct.
else. And then I can sort of see now that in a sense what you're saying is right, that if I can have the faith to depend on that that's doing all this, my problems are gone.
All problems are gone. In toto.
Yes.
Once and for all.
But then what you were saying last night comes back again because I lose it a bit and
Because
slip back into the
intellectual appreciation is there, direct experience is not there. You have understood. Once you know it, everything will be gone. Just like I gave you the example of that magic eye. But that magic eye is separate to you. So you are understanding the principle behind it. But that principle has not pervaded your being yet.
Even the principle also giving a little bit of peacefulness to Swamiji.
True, but
And we are not
but
completely there.
but you have to keep putting efforts to think about that principle.
Yes.
Anytime you can slide away from it.
Yeah. It drops and comes back.
Yes.
And so on. But
And but when you abide in it, when that principle pervades you completely, then there is no fall.
Yeah.
Then there is no ghost ever. Ego cannot arise. Why? You have caught the principle. And what is that principle? The Lord Divine. Ishavasyamidagam sarvam yat kinchit jagatyam jagata. He is pervading everything as himself. He is the controller as well as the material and efficient cause of this whole creation. That is the principle we want to catch. We understand it. We have understood this ghost post example, we have seen the magic eye example, we have seen the water wave example. But all those are examples which we are understanding. We have to make that, what that example is not the answer. The principle expressing in that example is what I have to now abide in. And once you abide in that principle, then this ghost called the ego will vanish once and for all. So here the Lord Adi Shankaracharya says, why we go after wealth and everything? What is there that ever belonged to anybody? Does the wealth belong to you? No. Everything is, the Lord created the creation out of His own being. So where's the question of you creating anything? Where's the question of you desiring anything in life? When everything is His and everything is He alone, then live in that joyful experience of living His life as an offering to Him. But we get caught up in our own desires. We caught up in this life of continuous desire orientation. And in this manner, this Ishavasya Upanishad is an attempt at reconciliation of these two, the path of knowledge and the path of action. Because everyone cannot. Now, just like in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the Lord gave him the highest vision, because that's what the student asked, Arjuna asked. What we have explained here in this first verse, Ishavasya Saram, exactly the point. That we are not able to stay there, we are not able to abide in that principle. Why we are not able to abide? We are able to understand, but we are not able to abide. So is there no hope for us? We are not able to renounce. So is there no hope for us? I am still attached to my children. I am still attached to my house. I am still attached to my car. So is there no hope for us to know that Lord Divine? Are we forsaken by the Lord? Because I understand, but then the pain comes that even though it is so prevalent, that principle is so prevalent, I understand everything, but it is not clicking. And that non-clicking brings about a pain within your bosom. And when this is going to happen, when this misery will go away once and for all, that I am not worried about the car, I am not worried about the children, I am not worried about the wealth, I am not worried about where the food is going to come from, I am not worried about anything. The only one thing I want to be is worried about the Lord. Even that worry also goes away because
You are the Lord.
I become one with the Lord, or the Lord makes me, merges me into Himself. When is that going to happen? When is it going to take place? So for those people who find themselves inadequate to pursue this path of renunciation or the path of knowledge which was expounded in the first verse, for them this other path is given, the path of action. This first path of renunciation or knowledge is the first wave thought that this Upanishad presents to us. Now in the second verse, the second wave thought is being presented, the path of action. Those who are not able to follow the path of knowledge and renunciation, there must be something for everyone. So where do they find themselves? We will take the path of action in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Just sit quietly for a minute.